Comfort is the most expensive trap ever built. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because comfort feels like safety, and safety feels like winning. The brain is wired to avoid pain, not to seek greatness. So every single day, people choose the version of life that hurts less right now, even if it costs them everything 10 years from now. That's the trade nobody tells you you're making. You don't lose your future in one bad decision. You lose it in 10,000 comfortable ones. The bed that's too warm to leave, the job that's fine, the relationship that's okay. None of these individually ruin you, but stacked over years, they build a ceiling so low you forget you were ever meant to stand taller. The shocking part? Most people know this. They can feel the ceiling. They just convince themselves it's normal because everyone around them has the same one. Getting ahead requires choosing short-term discomfort on purpose, every day, when nobody's forcing you to. That's the whole game. Not talent, not luck, not connections. The willingness to feel uncomfortable on a Tuesday when no one's watching and nothing's due. People who get ahead aren't smarter. They've just made peace with being uncomfortable longer than everyone else is willing to. They optimize for feeling good instead of getting better. There's a brutal difference between motion and progress, and almost nobody sees it until it's too late. People confuse busyness with growth. They read the book but don't apply it. They watch the tutorial but don't build the thing. They journal about their goals but never test them against reality. Why? Because doing the actual work risks failure, and failure feels bad, but consuming content about the work feels productive without any of the risk. That's the trap. You can spend your entire life feeling like you're working on yourself while never actually changing. The people who get ahead do the opposite. They chase what's uncomfortable and true, not what's comfortable and feels like effort. They ask, did this make me better? Instead of, did this make me feel good? Those are two different questions with two different answers almost every time. Feeling good is a byproduct of getting better, never the goal. The moment you start optimizing for how you feel about your progress, instead of the actual progress, you've quietly switched from building a life to performing one. And performances don't compound. Results do. They quit right before the curve bends upward. Almost every worthwhile result in life follows the same shape. Flat, 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 then suddenly steep. Most people quit somewhere in the flat part, convinced it's proof the thing doesn't work. It's not proof of failure, it's the price of admission. The flat part is where nobody's watching, nothing's working yet, and every signal in your body screams, stop, this isn't for you. That's not truth, that's just what effort feels like before results show up. The shocking reality is that the difference between the person who made it and the person who didn't often isn't skill, luck, or even work ethic. It's simply that one of them stayed in the flat part 15 minutes longer than the other. Businesses die in year 2, skills get abandoned in month 3, bodies get given up on in week 6. Alright, before compounding kicks in, nobody claps for you in the flat part. Nobody validates you. That's exactly why almost nobody survives it, and exactly why the people who do end up so far ahead it looks unfair from the outside. It was never unfair. They just didn't quit during the boring part where quitting is easiest and most justified. They wait for permission that's never coming. Most people are waiting for a green light. Nobody's ever going to give them. They want certainty before they commit, confidence before they start, and approval before they act. But certainty is a myth sold to people who are scared to move. Nobody feels ready. The people who get ahead didn't wait to feel ready. They acted uncomfortable and became ready in the process. This is the part that shocks people the most. Confidence isn't a prerequisite for action. It's a result of it. You don't think your way into being brave. You act your way into it. Every person you admire took the leap while they were still terrified, still unqualified on paper, still missing half the resources they thought they needed. Waiting for permission is really just fear wearing a disguise of responsibility. It sounds smart, it sounds patient, but it's actually just a slower, more socially acceptable way of quitting before you start. The market, your boss, your family, your industry, none of them are going to tap you on the shoulder and say, now. You have to decide now, yourself, with incomplete information, incomplete skill, and incomplete confidence. That's not reckless. That's how it's always worked. They let mediocre rooms set their ceiling. You cannot out-earn, out-build, or outgrow the standards of the room you spend the most time in. Most people don't realize their environment is quietly negotiating their future down every single day. If everyone around you thinks a certain income is good, a certain body is fine, or a certain level of effort is enough, you will unconsciously calibrate to that, even if you started with bigger dreams. This is the shocking part. It's not that people around you want you to fail. Most of them genuinely love you, but comfort is contagious, and so is low ambition. When you try to grow past the room's ceiling, the room doesn't cheer, it pulls you back down, often through guilt, jokes, or just being realistic. Getting ahead requires the uncomfortable act of upgrading your environment before you feel like you've earned it. Read what ambitious people read. Talk to people further ahead than you. Even when it's intimidating, let your standards get shattered on purpose. Most people never do this because it means admitting their current circle isn't enough, and that feels like betrayal instead of what it actually is, growth. Your income, mindset, and habits will always trend toward the average of your closest inputs. Choose better inputs. They chase speed instead of direction. Most people are working incredibly hard in the wrong direction and mistaking exhaustion for progress. Busy has become a badge of honor, but busy without direction is just expensive motion. The shocking truth is that hard work aimed at the wrong target doesn't just fail to help you, it actively costs you the years you could have spent doing the right thing instead. People spend a decade climbing a ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. Getting ahead isn't about moving fast, it's about moving correctly, then moving fast. That means before adding more hours, more hustle, more grind, you have to ruthlessly question whether the target itself is even correct. Most people never stop long enough to ask this, because stopping feels like falling behind. But direction multiplies effort, and misdirection wastes it entirely. Two people can work the exact same hours, with the exact same intensity, and end up in completely different places because one of them checked the map first. Speed without direction just gets you lost faster. The people who get ahead aren't always working harder than everyone else. They're working the right problem relentlessly, while everyone else is sprinting confidently toward nowhere. What if I told you that the reason you haven't gotten ahead has nothing to do with talent, luck, or the economy, and everything to do with 6 decisions you're making every single day without even realizing it? Most people are not failing because life is unfair. They're failing because they've made peace with comfort, and comfort is the most expensive trap ever built. You don't lose your future in one bad decision. You lose it in 10,000 comfortable ones. The extra hour of sleep instead of the extra hour of work. The job that's fine instead of the leap that's terrifying. The relationship, the routine, the version of you that never gets tested. And the brutal part is, you can feel that ceiling. You know it's there, you've just convinced yourself it's normal because everyone around you has the exact same one. Here's the next lie people tell themselves. That motion is the same thing as progress. It's not. Reading the book isn't the same as applying it. Watching the tutorial isn't the same as building the thing. Most people spend their entire lives feeling like they're working on themselves while changing absolutely nothing, because consuming feels safe and creating feels risky. The question was never, did this make me feel good? The question was always, did this make me better? Feeling good is supposed to be the result of growth, not a replacement for it. And even the people who do start working the right way, most of them quit in the flat part. Every result worth having follows the same shape. Flat, flat, flat. Then suddenly steep. And almost everyone quits somewhere in that flat stretch, convinced it's proof the thing doesn't work. It's not proof of failure, it's the price of admission. Nobody claps for you in the flat part. Nobody validates you there. That's exactly why so few people make it through, and exactly why the ones who do end up looking unstoppable from the outside. They weren't unstoppable. They just didn't leave 15 minutes before the curve bent up. But even staying isn't enough if you never start. And most people are still waiting to feel ready, waiting for confidence, waiting for permission that is never, ever coming. Here's what nobody tells you. Confidence isn't something you feel before you act. It's something you earn after you act. Scared, unqualified, and underprepared. Waiting sounds responsible. It sounds patient, but it's just fear, wearing a nicer outfit. And even if you get past all of that, your environment will still try to pull you back down. You cannot outgrow the standards of the room you spend the most time in. Not because the people in that room want you to fail. Most of them love you, but because comfort is contagious, and so is low ambition. If you try to rise past what that room considers enough, it won't cheer for you. It'll pull you back down through guilt, jokes, and just being realistic. Getting ahead means upgrading your inputs before you feel like you've earned it. And finally, even the hardest workers in the room get this wrong. They chase speed instead of direction. They mistake exhaustion for progress, spending a decade climbing a ladder leaned against the wrong wall. Two people can work identical hours, with identical intensity, and end up in completely different places, because one of them checked the map first. Hard work aimed at the wrong target doesn't just fail you. It costs you the years you could have spent doing the right thing instead. So when you ask why most people never get ahead, it was never one big failure. It was comfort chosen over discomfort, motion mistaken for progress, quitting right before the bend, waiting for a permission slip that doesn't exist, letting an average room set the ceiling, and working hard in a direction nobody bothered to check first. None of that requires more talent than you have right now. It requires the willingness to be uncomfortable on an ordinary day when nothing is due and nobody is watching. That's the whole game. That's always been the whole game. Getting ahead was never about being the most gifted person in the room. It's about being the one still standing when the flat part ends, still moving when comfort begs you to stop, and still aimed at the right target when everyone else gave up checking the map. The 6 things standing between you and the life you actually want aren't mysteries, they're choices, and every single one of them is available to you starting today. So choose the discomfort, choose the direction, Choose to stay 15 minutes longer than everyone else is willing to. Good luck out there. You have everything you need to be the exception. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. What if everything you've been told about why you're not ahead is wrong? It's not because you're not smart enough. It's not because you didn't get the lucky break, or the right connections, or the perfect timing. What if the truth is way simpler and way more uncomfortable? That you're one decision away from everything changing, and you've been making the wrong one on repeat every single day without even noticing? What if the people who made it aren't more talented than you? They just didn't quit in the boring part, the part where nothing's working yet and nobody's clapping. What if confidence isn't something you wait for? It's something you only get after you act scared. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down the 6 invisible decisions keeping most people stuck exactly where they are. And once you see them, you will never be able to unsee them in your own life. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're not going to have an excuse left.